Hello, it's me again. I did that video the other day about Christmas, and who would think that 24 hours later on that we'd have the fallout from BeardGate. Bizarre. I hadn't actually listened. There was more that I never picked on at the time, which I'm thankful to Kim and Mikey for trawling through this utter shit to hear this bit. But I think this bit really sums it up. So anyway, listen to this.
How can we promote unity in light of this direction? Well, after viewing this program, some might have to contend with strong feelings.
Strong feelings.
For example, some might feel as though they've been vindicated, saying, in effect, this is what I've been saying for a long time.
Yep.
This proves that I was right all along. Others might feel disappointed, saying, in effect, I supported the policy about grooming for all those years. Now, I feel let down.
Isn't it, Grill? Because that's exactly what witnesses now and witnesses, used to be witnesses, are thinking. They're thinking back now to how, for years and years and years and years, that we let these complete arseholes dictate to us what we could and couldn't do in our personal grooming, because we wanted to follow Jehovah's direction, all the way down through to the congregation and individual elders who would tell us what we could wear and what we couldn't wear. And now they're actually saying they've gone back to the Bible, doesn't mention beards, blah 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 blah. And it's there shouldn't be any problem anyone in the congregation having a beard. It's obviously the reason why they're doing this, because the witnesses have stagnated, they're not growing, and they want to encourage those who have stumbled out the congregations wanting to grow a beard, and maybe get those back in who would who want to come back in, have got a nice big hairy bush underneath their chin. I don't really know, but obviously they're trying to make it easier and easier and easier now to be a Jehovah's Witness. That there isn't so many things that you can eat and can do. For me personally, I struggle with this. There's literally, it's all over Facebook, and lots of people have been talking about individual their own experiences, or individuals that they knew who left or were held back from positions in the congregation because of their choice of growing hair in their face. At the end of the day, is growing a beard, letting your hair grow in your face is the most natural thing for a man. And it's what, obviously, if you believe in God, what God intended, which is why every illustration of everybody in Bible times always had facial hair. And in fact, if you did shave your facial hair and your head and your hair, you was more likely to be somebody who wasn't a follower of Jehovah God. So it was actively encouraged to grow beards, actively encouraged, until of course we get to this guy Rutherford, when he actively discouraged the growth of beards. Now, it's been put by other things I've seen that that actively discouraging of growing beard carried on into the 60s with the sort of counterculture, while if you were in opposition to the government or fighting in Vietnam or so forth, that you grew a beard and grew your hair, which is ironic, because of course that's what the Jehovah's Witnesses say. They are anti-government. they are anti-war, and it's a bit odd that they are then saying, well, we didn't want to be associated in the 60s with the, the counterculture people who were anti-Vietnam and anti-government, who were sending the troops over to Vietnam, and or anti, the communists in Europe. It's ironic that all of a sudden they're saying that's why we don't want to be associated with the same people who are against what we're against. Why was it then in the late 30s and the 40s that Jehovah's Witnesses worldwide were encouraged to grow beards, to sort of make them different from Satan's world? Because at that time, being smartly dressed, being clean shaven and having a nice short hair was what would really define you as being a fascist. And it used to be quite big in Germany in the late 30s, and then it sort of spread over, but into Europe during the 40s to 1945. How come the Jehovah's Witnesses said, we encourage you brothers to grow a beard, because we don't want you to be associated with fascists, because they always look smartly dressed and have got short hair and they're clean shaven, so we don't want you to be associated with these guys. It's really, really, really odd. They really pick and choose what they want to be associated with, depending on their reasoning or what benefits them at the time. This whole thing about personal grooming, it should have just been that for years and years and years. I got absolutely destroyed. I moved from Ellesmere Port then to Ayr and then to Rutherglen, and I'd always wore a long mac and fingerless gloves and sunglasses if it was a sunny day, and sometimes a hat. And when I went to Rutherglen, because I looked completely different to anybody else, I got destroyed by the elders for looking different. Coming up with all sorts of reasons to actually have a go at what I wore. Yet where I'd come from in Ellesmere Port and Runcorn and Wallasey, and I even tried to get it into Ayr, and there was no problem. All the brothers sort of did the same, because we were into bands like Joy Division, New Order, and Echo Bunny and Teardrop Explodes, and Manchester, Liverpool bands, and that's what they all did. They all had, it looked smartly dressed and had a Mac and sunglasses, if you want to wear sunglasses in the sun, but still wearing the Mac. And I was on the work once in Shawfield, near Oatlands in Glasgow, and I remember Keith Saunders said to me at the time, he says, "Why are you wearing sunglasses?" And I was, I think me and maybe Paul were, and he says, "Because you look like drug dealers." Because obviously it's obvious, if you're looking to score, to get to a little bit of this and a little bit of that, you just had to look for a person wearing a Mac and sunglasses. Clearly that's going to be a drug dealer. And so it went on. I got absolutely destroyed. And it was a personal choice. It was a personal choice what I wore, yet somehow I got to feel bad for choosing to wear a long Mac. And that's the way the witnesses were. They literally, you could go congregation to congregation, or a problem, you turn up in Rutherglen wearing a long Mac and you get destroyed for, looking different to everybody else. And this is what they didn't like. So you can easily see why, if all of a sudden you turn up wearing a beard, you were standing out. It was all about, you shouldn't stand out, brother. And it was the same thing. People, all of a sudden you went in with a beard on, you stood out too much, you're drawing too much attention to yourself, and that was it. But now all of a sudden it's a case of, well, hold on a second. We're comparing our standards with the standards in the world in Satan's organisation, when you're supposed to be no part of the world. And yet these individuals in the CEOs of big companies have beards, and some don't have beards. But you can't just stop at beards, which is what I said in the last video I did. Where do you go from this? Then surely it's got to be, you can't have a go at somebody, a man for instance, for growing his hair long. Because you can have, as long as you look neat, tidy and clean, you can have your hair, long, or in a ponytail, or a man bun, or whatever it is. I've got no choice because I've got more, I've got like 10 hairs on my head. But, that's the way it is. So it should be a case of, there's nothing in the Bible. In fact, if you had short hair, or shaven head in the Bible times, like I said, you're more likely to, to worship the opposition. So how come these days, when now it is perfectly acceptable to have long hair and be in a position of power or in business or running, you know, or being a politician or a CEO of a company, and you do have long hair, that the witnesses can't do that. So actually in the Bible there's nothing to say what the appropriate length of a man's hair should be. So really, we can't just stop at beards. Now Jehovah's Witnesses should be questioning, well, hold on a second, what about hair length? You know, why can't I grow my hair long? Why can't I put it in a bun, in a man bun, or have a ponytail? Why can't I? You know, why can't they? There's nothing into the Bible saying they can't. And then we're moving on to what you wear. What you wear. Where is there in the Bible that you must wear a suit and a tie? Because obviously, going back to Bible times, ties didn't exist. Neither do suits. And when you look at CEOs of big companies, they you know, if you look at like the guy who runs Amazon, the guy who runs Twitter, you know, all the big rich men in this world, they wear casual clothing. You can't tell they're a CEO apart from the fact maybe you've seen that you know, that you've recognised through Twitter or whatever it is that this is the guy who's, you know, one of the richest people in the world. And even within their you know, the different offices, they have a relaxed attitude. You don't want people going to work in suits and ties like that, like I used to have to do. No, they want people wearing casual clothing. As long as it looks smart, casual is acceptable. So yet again, what is there stopping any Jehovah's Witness just turning up with a beard, wearing smart casual clothing and giving a talk? Surely you can say, well brother, sorry, you know, I've grown my beard, but there's nothing in the Bible that states that I have to wear a shirt and a tie and a jacket and nice shiny shoes. There's nothing, as long as I look smart. And we can go even further. For instance, I remember sisters a long time ago, there was this type of dress which wasn't a dress. It was like, it was actually a pair of trousers, which actually when you would put your legs together, it resembled a skirt because it was all pleated. But in fact, no, it wasn't. It was actually a pair of trousers. I remember some of the sisters turning up and get absolutely roasted alive for that one. Not literally, obviously. So there's the case again. What's to stop sisters saying, actually, why should I wear a skirt? Why should brothers be allowed to wear trousers and I have to go out shop indoors? Well, not shop indoors, obviously, they don't do that anymore, do they? Why should I have to stand at a cart speaking to nobody, freezing to death wearing a skirt? Why should I have to wear a skirt when you see CEOs of big companies and politicians in the countries not wearing skirts? They are wearing slacks or jeans or comfortable trousers or something. And it goes on and on and on. What about, for all of a sudden, how many times would you be at the Kingdom Hall where there was, if you're a female and maybe you'd want to show a little bit of cleavage, for instance, all of a sudden, oh no, you can't do that, oh no. Then all of a sudden, what is there to stop women actually all of a sudden saying, actually, if you've got it, flaunt it. Why don't sisters go on the platform and do that? Where do we go? Tattoos. Where is there? I think there's something, but I can't remember. But brothers having tattoos or sisters having tattoos, dyeing your hair. Dyeing your hair a different colour, having an earring in your ear, an earring in your nose. Showing a lot of jangle, jewelry. Where does this? We've just all of a sudden the witnesses have now crossed that line where they've admitted, if it isn't in the Bible and it's a personal choice of your look, you should be able to do what you like as long as it doesn't go against Bible principles. We are now on the cusp of every witness who's still going should be able to think, right, hold on a second. Personal choice, not in the Bible, and then confront the elders or write into the society and say, what about this, what about that, what about the other? It doesn't say anything in the Bible about further education. Surely you say, well, hold on, that's a personal choice, I'll go and do further education. Going on holidays, it just, literally, this is the Pandora's box has certainly opened now. For years and years and years and years. I think for a lot of older people, I think they're going to be utterly stumbled, where that they've if I say older people, because I'm now one of those older people. I'm now in my 60s. Because I think the older people are now sort of they won't be stumbled because they're my age, but maybe ones who are in their 80s and they're still going to congregate. All of a sudden, you see a lot of brothers going up giving talks. I think they may think, what's happened to this religion? It's really confusing. I think if you're a Jehovah's Witness now, it's really odd, because if this is new light, it can't be new light, because the brothers, Charles T. Russell and all that squad at that time, had beards. Rutherford comes along with his new light and the beards have gone, and now we're approaching 100 years, well over 100 years after Rutherford said they were banned, and now they're back in. So what is it? It can't be new light, it's old light, new light, but now the new light is old light. What would you call that? I don't know, it's bizarre. What would you call that? A regurgitating of new light, new truths, that all of a sudden God's Holy Spirit has inspired these men to say, you were right the first time. You know, going back to Charles C. Russell's time, all these guys, you were right then. And at the end of the day it shouldn't matter what's acceptable in the world, what's the current trend, what the current fashion is. It should be, this is what, you know, it doesn't matter what trends are. Yet apparently, in let's saying that, you know, we've looked at CEOs, big businesses and governmental things, and now it's socially acceptable to have a beard, and so now that should be accepted with the witnesses. I thought they were supposed to stand apart from the world, not be part of the world, not be guided by what's popular in the world, whatever next. So yeah, it's I'm confused, and I think anybody else I must confuse. This is the, I think actually referring to the big three that's happened this year, obviously in the case of no longer counting your time, and then you have time to survive Armageddon during the beginning of the Great Tribulation. But this thing with the beards, I think it's in the other two things in relation to tribulation surviving and timekeeping, it only relates to timekeeping and tribulation surviving. But the thing with beards, that has now crossed that line where all of a sudden people are thinking, right, if beards are okay, and so people are going to start thinking about so many other things. Interesting times. A desperate act of a desperate organisation who are trying to stop their people leaving in droves who have had enough. But I feel utterly sorry for the people who are still witnesses, who were held back from doing what is natural, which is growing a beard, and for years they had like bad scarring from acne or rash, or they wanted to know, they knew that when they grew a beard when they were on holiday, it actually improved their looks, because as you're probably aware, that women do put on makeup and whatever to make themselves more appealing or just feel more self-confident. And for a man, of course, what can he do? Nothing. The only thing that we can do is, you know, grow a beard or grow a gitty goatee or a moustache or a little bit of hair here, or, you know, unfortunately as you get older you find out the only place that you really do grow more hair is in your ears. But it's just really odd that all of a sudden you've got all those brothers who for years and years and years wanted to have a beard, and now they're told that beards are back on the menu, boys. It's well, whatever next. But I think potentially it may be a relaxation on clothing. I think potentially suits and ties may be gone. I think maybe a more relaxed approach, smart, casual, may be the new mantra of the Jehovah's Witnesses in 2024. Watch this space. I'm off. Bye.